Hello, everyone. Welcome to the SIUK Study Abroad webinar series. Thank you for joining us today. We are pleased to host this session in collaboration with the University of Bath School of Management, a global leader in innovation and excellence. Ranked among the top 150 universities worldwide, QS, and 7th in the UK, Complete University Guide. We are honored to have with us Ms. Lil Deng, MBA Recruitment Coordinator. She's the MBA Recruitment Coordinator for the Bath MBA program, providing personalized guidance and consultations to prospective students and those holding offers. After the presentation, there will be a dedicated Q&A session where the professor will address your questions on studying at Bath. So please get ready to be inspired. Let's dive into what makes Bath School of Management an excellent choice for your academic journey. Without further delay, I'll now hand it over to Lal. Over to you.
Thanks, Ravi. And obviously, thanks for everyone who's joining us on this call today. My name is Lil Deng, and I'm the MBA Recruitment Coordinator at University of Bath. So I'll be the one leading this session today. A bit more on my role. So I mainly handle the student-facing side of recruitment for the full-time MBA program at Bath, including having one-on-one sessions, consultation sessions with both prospective students and offer holders. And on top of that, I also interview candidates. So if you have successfully reached the interview stage, there's a high chance that I'll be the person who interviewed you. I'm also joined here by Anushka, one of our alumni from the 22-23 cohort. Anushka, do you want to give a quick self-introduction, please?
Sure, thanks Lilith and thanks Rahul for having me here. Hi everyone, I'm Anushka and I am a graduate from the MBA batch from the University of Bath in 23. I currently work as a consultant in the UK. I'm working with EXL within their digital analytics and insurance consulting. I've been here for the last 2 years and have had a lovely experience staying in Bath and now in London. So looking forward to interacting with all of you. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Anushka. So for the setup, I'll introduce our MBA program involving some highlights and facts. I will walk you through the application process. We'll kind of share insights on how to make a successful application. I'll be asking Anushka questions so that she can share her own experience as we go through. And as Rose said, we'll have a Q&A session at the end. Unfortunately, Anushka she has another important meeting and will have to leave at 12:25. But I'll be able to be on the call this whole time and answer any questions that you might have later on. So, for the Bath MBA program, the sort of students that we're looking for are people who have an idea about what responsible leadership means to them. We want critical thinkers, and we want people who are innovative and who are able to apply what they have learned from their workplace so far into different types of situations and kind of bring that into the classroom. Next, I kind of want to talk about our key program highlights for entry in 2025. So our program has been redesigned to reflect modern business needs. So we kind of incorporate innovative and collaborative teaching that brings the workplace to classroom. So as a program, we really kind of stand out with our practice-based learning with our distinctive multi-project suite. So a bit more background information on that. Through the course of our one-year program, we actually bring in 4 clients with 4 real business problems for students to work on. And things might be slightly different when Anushka was here, but our projects going forward for the 2025, the first project student will be working on will be with a social enterprise. So that could be a charity, a nonprofit, or for example, could be a local museum. And then student will be split into groups and then to help the client with one of their current business issues and present a solution to the client as at the end of the project. The second project that we'll be working on will be a combination of changing action and consulting project, because we do notice that quite a few of our students, they actually want to go into consulting after they complete their MBA program. The third project will be a entrepreneurship project that if you have ever watched Shark Tank or Dragon's Den, is quite similar to that. So students will be working in groups again to come up with a business idea and work on everything behind that business idea and build everything from scratch. For example, working on the finance, the marketing, the supply chain, and etc. At the end of the project, we'll bring in investors, we'll bring in our business connections, our alumni to act as a judge panel, and the student will have to present their business ideas to the panel. The last project is our summer project, so-called summer graduation project. We're quite flexible on that. There are a few options for students to choose from. So the student can either choose to work on an individual project and work on a specific, for example, topic that they're interested in, or that we have quite a few of students, they are entrepreneurs, they have their own startup ideas, or they have their family business. So we actually encourage them to kind of work on that, pick that as their final project, so that they get to fully utilize both of our academic resources and our business connections. And the last option, again, if a student is very interested in consulting, then we would bring in a larger client with bigger scale of business problems for students to work in groups to resolve. So that being said, my question, I guess my first question for Anushka, is that if you remember, what was the type of project you were involved in, and what was your favorite project at the time?
Yeah, so I think, like you said, the structure has changed a little bit. So during my batch, we did not have the social charity-based project, which now I feel a little jealous about. I wish we had that one there, but I had a really wonderful experience with the multi-project suite. We worked with one client for about 6 months, sort of helped them from the start to the end for their particular business problem, and it included everything. It included the first part of it, which was research and strategy, then moving into seeing how we can implement it, and then towards the end also executing it for them, right? So it was a lovely sort of a phased out way that we learned all aspects of the value chain of any business problem, and whatever we learned during our classes, during strategy, leadership, etc., we were actually implementing those concepts as well. And we had great mentorship from our professors as well. They were there at every minute to help us. So overall, it was a great experience. And while we do work in different groups for other subjects, the fact that we had the same group for the entire project suite duration actually sort of helped me learn how to long-term work in a team, because when you're continuously changing projects, you're continuously changing your outlook towards how you're going to approach that particular project. But this was more about teamwork. It was more about a long-term collaboration. And I think that was one of my biggest learnings from this one.
Well, thanks for sharing that. But yeah, apparently we've been having some changes since you were here. So now that for full projects, we tend to put students into different groups, so they always have a chance to work with someone from a different background, to work with different peers, and to learn from different perspectives. But overall, the idea behind the multi-project suite is that so that it kind of gives students a chance to quickly put what they've learned into practice, and also because the first project will be actually in, I think, late December, so it allows students to kind of start to establish their business connection fairly early on, because the majority of our cohort are international students. So moving on, and I think another thing that really makes us stand out is that our dedicated career support and mentoring scheme. So we have a dedicated career team only for the MBA students. There are 2 colleagues working in that team. So they will be there with the students since day one. And the idea is that they will be there delivering workshops, bringing guest speakers, taking students out on field trips and all that. And our students can book as many one-on-ones with them as they want. And they can help with a wider range of things, as small as helping students with mock interviews for a particular job, or editing a particular version of their CVs for a particular job, to almost helping students to kind of narrow down their career inspirations and all that. Starting from the 2025, students will also have a chance for international exchange program. So either in the semester 2 or semester 3, they will be able to take one of their units abroad. And then we also have a credit-bearing professional development program starting from 2025. So moving forward, I want to quickly kind of give you an idea about our class profile. So we normally get 50 students, and we are quite proud that our female-male ratio is almost 1-to-1. For the current cohort, the 24-25 cohort, we have 52 students, while 48% of them are female. Among the 52 students, the majority of them are international students. They're from 16 different nationalities, among 21 different employment sectors. So we could have someone who has an engineering background, or someone who has a traditional finance background, and we're all working together. So the average age is 29 years, with 6 years of average working experience. So in terms of the entry requirement, I would like to highlight that we have a minimum requirement of 3 years experience. So this is 3 years by the time you submit your application, not 3 years by the time you actually start your course with us. So definitely keep an eye on that. And in terms of the average working experience of 6 years, I think 6 years is not a good representation of our cohort, because the thing is, we welcome everyone onto the program in terms of the experience level. So we have relatively less experienced student, for example, 3 years, and we could also have someone who's quite experienced with more than 10 years of experience on the program, and that all kind of add up together. Comes down to the average 6 years of experience. But that being said, it's a chance for students to kind of learn from their peers at different levels. Okay, so what we are looking for in you is, first, we want your CV. We want a personal statement. We ask for 2 reference letters, and we ask for English language test result if English is not your first language. And we will ask your undergraduate degree certificate and your transcript. So for all of these I have mentioned, you can approach us to get a free eligibility check. So if you're unsure whether you meet our criteria, my suggestion is to go on our website and send in your CV to our admission team. They'll have a look for you, and we'll let you know whether you're able to apply. And they are pretty good at getting back to students. So I would definitely recommend to do that before you apply if you have any questions. Okay, next. So when it comes to some of the top tips for you, the first thing that we were looking for is for you to be very clear about your reasons for undertaking an MBA. So this could be, where are you on your career journey at the moment? Are you an accelerator, a pivoter, or an entrepreneur? So one question that we are likely to ask you in the interview actually is, why do you want to do an MBA? Sometimes it could be the case that the sort of skills you're looking for, you can't really get them at the workplace. And if that's the case, my suggestion is to be clear about why you think you haven't been able to acquire these skills in your career up to now, and what the MBA can help you with that. So my question for Anushka, from your side, thinking back, if you can remember, what were your reasons for doing an MBA?
So Lilith, I was confused whether I'm an accelerator or a pivoter. I come from research and strategy background when I was working in India. And I always thought that to go to the next step, I need to build a better foundation. And I felt that my growth was a bit stunted where I was at in my professional journey. And I needed a stepping stone to sort of either move forward or pivot to another career opportunity. So I use my MBA as a stepping stone for that to sort of build a better foundation when it comes to management, when it comes to business, when it comes to um, sort of any aspect of any professional journey, right? So I used it as a stepping stone for myself to sort of interact with more people, get more international exposure. And like you said, I knew that the Bath MBA has a lot of cultural diversity and a lot of functional diversity, as I also call it, because we have in my batch also we had engineers, we had doctors, we had fundraisers, we had advertising, marketing, everything, right? So for me to learn from those perspectives from an industry point of view was extremely important. So that was me. That was why I wanted to do an MBA.
Oh, thanks for sharing that. Yes, as Anushka said, like we do have like a mix of different types of applicants, and as I mentioned, accelerator, pivoter, or entrepreneur. So I guess being able to kind of know what you're looking for, and then kind of that match that with what us as a program can offer you would be a really good answer for questions like this. Anushka also kind of talked about teamwork and kind of learning from different a cohort with diverse background and all that. That kind of leading nicely onto that is thinking about. Okay, there we go. It's kind of thinking about your strengths and also where you might need a little bit more experience. So Anushka, do you remember what were your strengths back then? What were the things that you thought you could bring into the class, and or what were the things that you thought you were lack of and therefore needed the MBA?
Absolutely. Like I previously mentioned, Lilith, where I was at in my professional journey back home in India, I felt like my growth was stunted. I felt like I wasn't learning anything new on my job, and it was sort of getting a bit monotonous. And in order to challenge myself more, in order to get more exposure, was something that I felt that my MBA was extremely important for it, right? Um, and I feel like the strengths that I brought to the table, like communication, teamwork, critical thinking, strategy, innovation, everything, they were probably at their nascent stages. And with the MBA, I sort of like groomed my strengths to 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 basically strengthen them even more, right? And also, we all have our weaknesses as well. And I think the MBA also helped not only highlight those for me, but gave me the opportunity to work on them as well. And I can see myself in every day at work actually going back to what I've learned during my MBA, during the classes, and actually applying them um, in my daily work. I have done my undergrad in math, so I don't see myself use math on a daily basis at all, but I definitely use what I've learned from the MBA on a daily basis. So, yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing that. And especially I do want to highlight the soft skills that you get from an MBA degree, not by just, sitting in classroom, but also working on projects, working with your peers and going out on field trips and talking to other business connections and all of that. Because one interesting thing that we realize is that whenever we talk to the student and ask, oh, what do you think are the most important qualities and things that makes you stand out as a candidate or later on in your career, our student always mention the quite technical side of things. For example, being able to utilize their data analytical skills and all that. But then when we kind of ask the same question to our business connections, the answers are actually they're looking for someone who has good soft skill set, so communication, team working, and all of that. So essentially, as part of the program, what we want to do is kind of bridge the gap between our students' perceptions and the employers' expectations, ideally. And then essentially, we want someone who's reflective and knows themselves well. So definitely make sure when you put in an application, make sure you incorporate this way of thinking into your MBA application. So moving on next, talking about CV. Your CV is one of the documents that we require to submit. There's a lot of discussion about what's a good CV and how one should structure it. For us at this stage of the process, don't worry too much about it, because as long as we can understand it and it reflects your career journey and your education, that is absolutely fine with us. So in terms of, I guess, always keep in mind that it's a personal document to you, so there's no right or wrong way. But equally on the program, you will get lots of career support from our dedicated MBA career team. And some of that support will be around CV editing and how to utilize your CV to be better demonstrate your experiences and your skills. So, Anushka, my question for you is that, do you remember roughly around what time our career team started talking about CV? What was the type of help you got?
I think the career team was honestly on it since day one. We had workshops and sessions every week, starting from the first week of classes and first week and the first term. So I think they were quite proactive with that. We started having these CV discussions, I believe, somewhere around December, January, because that's basically when you start sort of building your CV. You've sort of settled into the MBA, and that's when you start focusing on your basically the career aspect of it. And we had several CV workshops. I remember us being told that there are 7 different types of CVs on the basis of your experience and how you want to position yourself. And I till date use one of those templates. So I think it was extremely helpful, and it sort of really well in time prepared me for the Feb-March deadline, wherein we're encouraged to start applying, and so that we can secure a job right after we graduate. So yeah, it was overall a really, really good experience when it came to this aspect of the MBA as well.
Great. Thanks for sharing. So as I mentioned, don't worry too much about your CV, and we'll help to show how your CV can better reflect yourself as a strong candidate once you're onto the program. And my suggestion is also to fully utilize our MBA career support, book as many one-on-ones as you need with our careers team. And also, especially if you're a student, if you're an entrepreneur, or if you are looking to career pivot, start talking to our career team as soon as possible, so that they can always help you to make sure you're doing the right thing at the right time and meeting the right people at the right time as well. And then in terms of CV, I think especially for those who want to stay in the UK after completing your degree, because we might have a different way of interpreting your CV than you're used to, say, in India. So definitely always talk to our career support team, and they'll help you with your CV editing. Okay, moving forward, the next almost equally important thing, one of the required documents for you to submit is your personal statement. This is really your opportunity to shine, really to tell us who you are. Unlike some of the other universities who ask for a standard one-page personal statement, we actually have a set of 4 questions for you to answer, each with a 250-word limit. So it's a good way to think it as a good way for us to understand you better at pre-interview stage. We'll be asking questions such as, why do you want to do an MBA, and your career inspirations. So take it as a chance for you to show more about yourself, your values, your motivation, and what you could bring into the program. It really should be a reflective piece. So you can talk about, for example, how a specific experience has affected you or people around you and shape you into the person you are now. And it is also an opportunity for you to think about what you have done so far. In terms of using AI, we are absolutely fine with that, as long as the end piece has your voice in and your experience in it, because we've seen so many applications, and we'll be able to spot if one piece is 100% completely generated by AI. So definitely avoid depending on AI too much. And my other suggestion is to try to fully utilize the word limit, because the amount of times that we see an application and some of the questions only has a couple of sentences, again, it really is your time to tell us more about you. And essentially, this affects your overall application and even your scholarship application if you would like to apply for scholarship. So definitely try to fully utilize the word limits. Another thing about the personal statement is that we'll ask you about your career inspiration, both short-term and long-term. And it's actually fine that you don't know exactly what you want to be doing, because no one is sure what they will be in 1 year or 3 years. So as long as you have an idea and you've shown that you've done your research and you're reflective and you're open to opportunities, we're fine with that. So for Anushka, can you remember what you've talked about at that stage in terms of your career aspirations, and has that changed?
I think it has changed, but it's also the same. Uh, I think that like I mentioned before as well, when I came for the MBA, I wanted to accelerate, I wanted to pivot, right? And at that point, my career aspirations were that I wanted to get more international work experience. I wanted to, because the way that we the way that we work here versus the way that we work in India is very different. And there's no right or wrong way, but I just wanted to experience and get the exposure. That was one of the things that I wanted to do. But I also envisioned myself take all of these learnings and go back to my home country as well, and sort of maybe live my entrepreneurial dreams back home. And while I have achieved my short-term goal, which is to get international experience, to get international exposure, um, time will tell when I move on to my long-term goals. But yes, like you just mentioned, that you don't need to know the minute that you're entering the MBA, right? Like there could be so many things, you are going to be exposed to so many new concepts, so many new opportunities that you didn't even know existed, right? So it could be very much possible that you want to change and do something completely different than what you put on your personal statement. So yeah, don't I think I completely resonate with you that you don't need to know everything right now, but you should show that you have direction in what you want to use the MBA for.
Exactly. Thanks for sharing. And as Anushka mentioned, we actually have quite a few students. They come onto the program, and before they had a grand plan of what exactly they want to be doing. But once they're on the program, because MBA is such an life-changing opportunity, and the type of people you'll be interacting with will broaden your horizons, will allow you to learn things from different perspectives. And these students, sometimes they come onto the program, and then not long after that, they completely change what they want to be doing, because what they've learned and what they've been talking to everyone, and things could change. So yes, so don't worry too much about that, as long as you can show that you've done your research and you have a rough idea about what you want to do. So moving on next, another thing that another thing that we kind of look at is how your actions impact others around you. So when you put in your application and thinking about your interview, one of the things that we'll be looking at with you is really what are your values and what makes you you, and how you behave in the workplace, and how does that affect people around you. So essentially, this could be decisions you made, this could be your daily behavior, how you approach issues when working in groups. So this fundamentally kind of affects how you behave in a team project once you're under the program with us. So how to make sure everyone is heard and you don't have anyone who's like taking over. So Anushka, could you give me an example of working in a group when you were in the program?
Absolutely. So, we, over the course of the entire work, in groups in almost every subject. All I don't think I remember even one subject wherein there wasn't a group assignment element with it, and that was really helpful because we kept working with different people. So I think I essentially worked with the remaining 50 people from my batch, and I know exactly how they work. And the exposure that I got was that I can use my learnings of how these 50 people work and take it back to my workplace. And I'm sure I'm going to find one of those 50 back at work, and I'm going to be, and I'll know how to deal with them, or I'll know how to work with them collaboratively. So that was extremely helpful when it came to the group work that we did. And there was one instance we had a finance module back in the day, and it was one of those courses wherein everyone was just we didn't know what we were doing because we were doing live trading at that time. So I remember all of us just sort of like coming together, regrouping, and being like, hey, we got this. We don't have any finance background, but we're going to figure it out. And in the end, we did. And we had a successful run and scored really well on the assignment as well. So we were all really happy. So I think it was more about just realizing that even though we didn't have someone with that financial experience within our team, we all sort of came together and took it on as a challenge, and we overcame it. So I think that was one of the really beautiful things about, having to do so much group work.
Great, thanks for sharing. Again, this kind of aligned with what I mentioned before, like when it comes to technical side of things and soft skill side, essentially soft skill side kind of take over in the end, because a lot of the technical things can be learned, but soft skills need to be developed. And in terms of the finance example, so don't panic too much for whoever doesn't have a finance or accounting background. So what we tend to do is that because we tend to put students into different groups, so if it's a finance related project, these days we always try to make sure that within each group there's someone from a finance or a similar background who can chip in when there's a need to. And to be honest, like a lot of times it's not because the project, I guess the nature of the project is not focusing on one specific area. For example, the entrepreneurship ones, we might be students who have a finance background. They can help when it comes to doing cash flow projections, but then we can also have a student who has a marketing background who will be able to kind of chip in and help with the marketing plan and all of that sort of thing. So essentially, again, as I mentioned before, the learning process is not just learning by sitting in class, but also through working with your peers. So moving on to my next slide, which is probably the most unpleasant topic that no one likes, finances. So be realistic about financial commitment that's the thing that we really want to tell you. So because we just don't want anyone who decide to come onto the program and then had to leave because of financial instability. So we want you to be very clear right from the beginning exactly what the financial commitment will be. And we expect you to kind of done your work to make sure you have the access to the loans and supports that are available to you. Although we have scholarship opportunities and we recommend all of our students to apply for scholarships, please don't rely on scholarship awards because this is more of a bonus and should not be seen as a top-up fund. So it is really up to you to investigate into your finances before applying. If you reach the point that you received an offer and realized that you had to withdraw, that's really disappointing, both for you and for us as well, because we want you onto the program. And it's really not a nice place for you to be in. So please do make sure that you really sorted out the financial situation you will be in. So Anushka, this is quite tricky, but without going into your personal situation too much. What was your experience and other people on your program's experience when it comes to, I guess, financial planning? Did you apply for
Yeah.
a scholarship and did you take a loan? What was it like?
So I did apply for the scholarship, and I am a scholarship holder for the MBA. And at that time, I did realize I did a lot of background checking, sort of discussed this with my parents, and sort of went back and forth with the amount of resources that I had. And at that time, I felt like I could I felt like I could take on the MBA. But like you said, we were all encouraged to apply for a scholarship. Well, I did not think of it as this top-up fund, right? But it was a good experience for me because I was able to sort of qualify for the scholarship, and it was a scholarship video that we had to submit. And there were fairly a lot of there were about 10 to 15 students in my batch, if I'm not wrong. Maybe I don't remember the number correctly, but we had a lot of scholarship holders who were all given scholarship on the basis of merit and on the basis of what we bring to the table. So that was great. There were also students in my batch who had taken student loans and were planning to sort of repay them along their professional journey. There were students who did not take a personal loan, but for their who did not take a student loan, sorry, but for their personal expenses, they were working the 20-hour part-time that we get to work in the UK. So that was, if that's something that students are willing to do, they can explore that option, sort of cover their living expenses through that, and yeah, include your travel, your living expenses within that. So I think there are a lot of permutations and combinations that you can sort of think about when it comes to this financial commitment. But like you said, it's extremely important for each and every student to sort of analyze the kind of resources that they have the bandwidth to invest in this. And but I also feel like it shouldn't stop you, right? It shouldn't be the biggest hurdle in your journey when you're trying to secure education for yourself. That education is something that everyone needs and everyone should get. So, but yeah, it's a calculated decision that one needs to take. But these opportunities are there, and I would encourage everyone to explore them.
Great, thanks for sharing. So since you mentioned about scholarships, so roughly at the moment, 20% of our students, they will get scholarships. So that's why we really encourage everyone to apply. So I can go into a bit more details later on if there's any questions around scholarships. But yeah, definitely apply and then take it as an opportunity, and it's a bonus. And then, as Anushka mentioned, kind of also take into consideration factors like living expense and traveling and all of that. In terms of the 20-hour I guess it's allowance for students to be able to, international students to be able to work in the UK. Obviously, it's an option there, but in terms of the MBA program itself, it can get quite intense sometimes. So there might be times that you want to reduce your hours per week because it could be hard to try to balance out your part-time and as well as at the same time doing a very intensive MBA course. So that's also something to I guess take into mind, that that is a good source of money, but also like not something that you should kind of fully depend on for say, for example, for your living expense. Cool. Let's move on to the next stage, which is interview. So the overall application process, it will start with you sending your CV for eligibility check. Then if our admission team thinks you would meet our criteria, then they will let you know that you can apply. You can send in all of your documents, and once we review your document, and especially your personal statement, we will invite you to an interview. So the interview, it will be online. 99% of the times it will be online. In the past, we had a couple of students that they happen to be in the UK or they're from Europe. They want to come and have a look at the university and all that. So we can actually facilitate in-person interviews if that's something you want. But if not, it will be done online through Teams. It normally takes roughly around 40 to 50 minutes. So either myself or one of my colleagues will be interviewing you. So please make sure you got access to internet and double check your microphone and background. So when we invite you to come for an interview, we'll also send you a separate document. So it has things that, for example, has things like cultures and values and things that we think are important. And so definitely read our preparation document carefully before the interview, because some of the questions might actually come from there. During the interview, don't worry too much if you are nervous, because we fully understand and we'll give you the time if you need. If there's something that you don't understand, please ask us to rephrase or repeat. We're all very nice and we're not here to give you a hard time. So don't worry too much about that. And then at the end of the interview, you will have the opportunity to ask us any questions that you might have. So I guess essentially it's a two-way thing, because it's for us to know more about you, but also for you to know a bit more about us as a program. So Anushka, do you remember who interviewed you and how did you feel about your interview overall?
Yes, I remember. So I was interviewed by Matt, who is our career expert, and I had a lovely conversation with him. I've had a lot of sort of students and prospective students sort of reach out to me over LinkedIn or other professional networks, and they've always asked me, "Oh, we're really scared about the interview. Like, what are they going to ask? Is it going to be technical? Is it going to be case studies?" And I just tell them like, hang on, guys, it's just a conversation, and it's for you to better know the university, because these are the people you're going to be interacting with on a daily basis, and it's for them to also analyze where you fit in the profile of the batch that they're trying to create. So I think, like Lilith mentioned, be candid, be honest, be authentic. I think that's going to be something that really differentiates you from someone who is maybe trying to put on a fake face, or just trying for the hell of it, right? So
Yeah.
I think that yeah, just be honest. I think that would be my biggest suggestion, and not to be scared of the interview as well. It's just more of like a conversation.
Exactly. Thanks for sharing that. And I guess adding a bit to what Anushka just said, yes, it's we want you to be honest. A lot of times, if you're too overly prepared, we'll be able to know. If you're trying to memorizing script, we'll be able to know. And another thing on top of that is that sometimes people do get into the situation that they're talking so much about what they've learned about our program, and which is a really good thing, because that's showing that you've done your research. But then also essentially what we want to know is more about you as a candidate, instead of the things we already know what we are good at in terms of our programs and all that. So if you want to, I guess, talk a bit more about our program, try to relate that to you. How can you benefit from that? And what are the things that you wish to get from our programs, such apps and all that? So we have another webinar, I think in June, with our Associate Dean of Disc Growth Management, Pete Nuthall, and then he for insights and advice on how to present the best versions of you at interviews. So if you go on our website, MBA site, which we will have I think QR code or something for you to scan on later on, that you can just sign up for it. So I know it's going to be in June, it's going to be slightly late, but definitely this is another opportunity for you to kind of learn more about interviews. Moving forward. So on an average, when it comes to applying for MBA, a student will apply to over 3 universities. And when making your selection, I guess, be very clear on why you've chosen these universities. Some of the things to think about would be, for example, reputation. Any recommendations from alumni, for example, from Anushka during the call today? What's the locations like? So for us, Bath is around roughly an hour and 30 minutes away from London by train. So it's actually quite easy for you to just get on a train and pop into London, whether for a day trip, for a field trip, or even for an interview. So and we have Bristol, which is like 10 minutes away from by train from Bath, and there's an international airport there, so it's easy access to Europe as well. Another thing to look at could be the program design, as in what you will be getting out of it. In our case, we're pretty, I've already mentioned our practical side of things, our multi-project suites, and our connection with businesses, and our career support. Well, lastly, kind of is the, I guess also as a student, what other support you will get from specific universities? Because for an MBA, coming back into academic world for your MBA, it really is a switch of mindset. You'll be away from home in a new country with different culture, and it's not an easy place when the program itself can be quite intense. So it's always good to make sure the university you're applying to have the understanding and knowledge of what you as a student might need. So in our situation, we have a role called Student Experience Officer. So she's available for students to have one-on-ones at all times. So you could talk to her about academic-related things. It could be personal. It could be a particular skill set, such as time management and teamwork issues. She's such a wonderful person, and she only works with MBA students, and she's always available. So it's good to know that you kind of have that safety net. So for Anushka, have you had much experience getting support from our student experience officers?
Yes, I did. I think they were very dedicated since the beginning, even before we joined. You know, we had catch-ups with the cohort every month, and it was a good way to sort of get to know everyone. And they were very proactive. If you had any questions, they would sort of reply instantly. And I myself have booked a couple of one-on-ones with the student experience officer, and I had a great chat. It was for me was I remember feeling a bit overwhelmed during the beginning of the MBA, just being like, okay, there's so much work to do. We have 9 to 5 classes, and also there is in the background that you need to secure a job the minute this ends. And I think it was getting very overwhelming, and I had a lovely conversation with her, and she basically told me to take it easy, take it step by step. So I think that their contribution is extremely valuable, and even in and not just for yourself. If you're having conflicts in a group, or if you're feeling that something's off, or if you're feeling really good, both sides of the coin, right? Like, and they're there for you, and I really appreciate that.
Well, thanks for sharing that. Yes, so your student experience officer will be there to help you when you have issues, but they will also be there when you want to share your joy, you know? It doesn't need to necessarily to be, oh, I only see my student experience officer when I have issues, because that's not always the case. So another thing that we have is I already mentioned is that we have the career support. So we have career support throughout the programs. There'll be workshop, and then students will have go out for field trips, and then we'll bring in guest speakers. And then you normally our students will be assigned with a mentor and a coach. So the mentor could be one of our alumni, or from a particular industry. The coaches are always trained ones. So they're there to answer any of your questions that you have. So Anushka, I don't know if you've had a mentor or a coach assigned when you were there. Could you share tiny bits background in that?
Yes, we did. I had a mentor and a coach assigned to me, and I would say that my mentor was fantastic. She was actually the one who sort of helped me realign my goals, and I had several conversations with her. And it was extremely important for me, because without her, I don't think that I could have sort of like gotten direction to where I was going, because, like I said, it can be really overwhelming. You're trying to understand what you want to do going forward. You want to manage your academics along with it. You need to manage people. You need to manage your family expectations, everything. And I think I was feeling the weight of that, and I was starting to get very confused, very muddled, because what happens is that you go from one thing to another, right? Like today, I'm like, I want to go into advertising. Tomorrow, I say no, maybe I should go back to consulting, and I was just really confused because there was just so many opportunities in front of me. And when I had a conversation with my mentor, she actually just told me to like take a step back and reevaluate where do I see myself being the most comfortable, right? Not where I am expected to be, but where my comfort lies. And I think that was something that really helped me realign my goals. So I had an exceptional experience with my mentor and coach.
Oh, that's really good to know. So yes, potentially, for example, some students they might be thinking about career pivoting, or they are student entrepreneurs. So what we can do is that we can see we have one of our alumni or business connections who's actually done the same thing. So we can kind of try to pair you with a mentor or coach like that, so they understand better how you feel. That's another thing to, I guess, keep in mind. In terms of field trips, because I mentioned so many times about field trips. So we normally take students out to places like, I think the first place we always take students to is Wimbledon. And then we also take students to Amazon. There's normally a finance one to London, a creative one, where we go and visit a marketing agency and all of that. So they're all apart from your mentors and coaches, you'll be having opportunities to go outside and talk to our business connections. Okay, moving forward, one of the suggestions we have is definitely to connect with alumni and students to, I guess, fully utilize your connections when you're doing your research. Making sure to connect with our current student and our alumni, because I can talk to you about the program and the design and setup of it, but the students, they actually lived it, and that's why they understand how it has changed them from a more personal perspective. So again, also use your agents, or you can connect with us directly, as in the recruitment and admission team, because if you go online, you can book one-on-ones with either me or my manager, Becky, who is the head of MBA recruitment and admission. And you can have as many one-on-ones with us as you want. It could be even before you put in an application if you wish. We also kind of do activities before you arrive. Once you secure a place within the program, we'll connect you with other incoming students and kind of build networks and relationships before you actually arrive, because we don't want you to arrive on the first day one and there are 50 faces and you've never seen and 50 people you would never talk to. So don't worry too much about that. Anushka, I know you have to go soon, so I have my last question for you, which is, so what was your experience with the pre-arrival activities like?
It was great actually. Like I mentioned, that we had regular monthly catch-ups with the cohort, and so I was able to interact virtually with a lot of the students that I was going to be studying with going forward. And also, we did attend a couple of sort of these bath info sessions in our local cities. So there was one in Delhi, and I was able to meet three of my batchmates there in person before even joining the course. So I think that was really helpful. And we had a Facebook group wherein we could talk to each other, sort of like understand, oh, which accommodation are you going to book, or just general conversation, introduce ourselves. And I believe that for a few of my batchmates, there were some, they had arrived a bit early and they were taking a few more courses as well. So I think that was also quite helpful and beneficial for them to sort of like integrate themselves in and prepare themselves for the next one year.
Great, thank you. I know you're in a rush, you have to go.
Yeah.
Let me just say thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you so much for talking to the students. And yeah,
Anytime. Take care. Bye.
great, bye. Cool. I will keep talking about my presentation and all of that.
So, thank you for the insightful presentation with us, Lalit. And
Is it time or?
no.
Okay, cool. Because Anushka needs to leave early. That's why
Okay.
I just let her go first. But then
Okay, yeah,
I have a
we
couple
have
of
it.
slides. Yes, so cool. That's good to know. Thank you. I've got a couple more slides. So a bit more about the University of Bath and Bath as a city. So we are a World Heritage City. The city itself is very, very beautiful, roughly around 100,000 residents. And we have been voted for one of the safest university towns and cities in the UK. I think we were number 2. I never figured out which city is number 1, but I know we've always been number 2. We have 2 universities. The other one is more arty ones, which is Spa, and then it's kind of giving us such a unique and vibrant feel. We are very cultural. We're very easy access to both Bristol and Europe and London. And then there are a lot of things to do here. And then just to share that I'm also a Bath alumna. So I obtained my master's degree in business analytics from University of Bath back in 2018. So if you have any questions related to more like, I guess from a more alumni perspective or previous students perspective, if you book a one-on-one with me, I'll be able to offer you those insights. So kind of in terms of sums up and what you need to know to apply for an MBA with us. So please do make sure that you reach out to SI UK because they can be very helpful. It's also great to have the type of support, whether it's to make sure you have all the documents, help you to read through your personal statement before submission, or help you with visa application. Please reach out to us by going onto the website and use our free eligibility check to make sure you can apply. You can book a one-on-one with us as much as possible. If you're ready to put an application, it's quite straightforward online. You can send in your documents. Our admission team will let you know if you're missing anything. If we decide to give you an interview opportunity, normally after we will let you know within 5 days whether you've been given an offer or scholarship within 5 days. Obviously, we hope once you get an offer, you pay your deposit, and we'll start putting you into contact with other offer holders. So that is all I have. So for those who want to apply next year, because you already missed a chance this year, if you apply before 1st of March and pay your deposit within the first week after receiving an offer, you will get a reduction of £2,000 from your tuition automatically. So that is all I have for now, and I'm open to any questions.
Thank you for the insightful presentation, Lalit. I'll be starting the Q&A session, and we'll be reading all the questions from the YouTube chat box. So first question is, how personalized is the support in the Business Career Accelerator module?
So that's just I guess a part of the support that you'll be getting. So the whole program is kind of we try to incorporate it all. So I guess essentially what we want to do for our student is that everything we do on the program is to make sure you'll be able to achieve your career goals. So everything that you can think of. So for the Business Accelerator, this module itself, so it could involve a lot of things. For example, how to interpret data, how to do storytelling, how to be able to, I guess, kind of show your skill sets and how to present yourself. Those are all coming up with a good resume and a personal cover letter. So they're all kind of together. And then we actually kind of, it's a credit bearing one. So you're actually going to get assessed for those skill sets. But on top of this particular module, throughout the program, there are opportunities for you to develop your skill set, whether it is like data analytical or it is soft skills that I mentioned that are quite important before. So, and as I mentioned, so our dedicated MBA career support team. So there are 2 colleagues in that team, and they will be with the students since day one. They will be delivering workshops. They will be talking to students, helping them with interviews and literally everything that you can think of. So I guess this kind of answered the question, hopefully.
Okay. So the next question is, what support is available for international students adjusting to the life in Bath?
Cool. So as I mentioned, the majority of our cohort, they are international students. So we are fully aware what's going on. So in terms of the kind of pre-arrival things that we talked about, we do put students into groups, and we have topics that we share with students, or we want students to kind of talk in the groups, and it could be involved. Including like things like how to adapt into a new culture and how to deal with cultural shock, and what are the things you should, and essentially it could be done to what are the things that you should bring into the UK. So from small things to big things, we do try to cover that as much as possible into our pre-arrival setup. And then on top of that, we will also, in terms of quite hardcore technical things, we know our student will have to apply for visa. So we'll also invite our student immigration to come to talk to the student in terms of the process and what's it going to be like. Once the students are here, we do ask the student to kind of arrive a week earlier if they're not going to arrive even earlier for their pre-session English courses. We do ask students to arrive at least a week earlier, so we have a whole week of induction, that we have events, we have like different talks, and the student can meet everyone on the program, meet their lecturers, meet all of the other university support groups and university service teams. So they'll know who to go to if they have issues. But then I guess on the top of everything, the student experience officer that I talked about, she's always there to help. And in terms of the academic side of things, we also have student program officer. So she will be the one who helps students in terms of when it comes to picking their elective courses or giving guidance on more like academic related things. The university itself, we have quite a few international students as well. So we actually have a role called international student officer or a support officer. So students that can actually, she's a very lovely lady. She has like events almost every week at a specific area for international students to go and meet people and also to share how they feel about things. And there are all sorts of different student organizations based in different cultures and all that. So there are lots and lots of ways both our program and the university can provide to support our international students.
Great. And we have this another question. Are there scholarships for students from specific fields or industries?
So we actually don't have that. So we encourage all of our students to apply for scholarships. As I mentioned, so tiny bit more into this scholarship application process. Unlike some of the universities, they will issue students an offer first and then ask them to apply for scholarships, and then let them know later in the summer whether they've been awarded with a scholarship. For us, we actually ask students to send in their scholarship application. It's a 2-minute video. There are specific things we want the students to be covered in that video. So we actually ask students send in that before the interview or like before we start reviewing their applications, and we will let the student know whether they've been awarded with a scholarship on their offer letter. In terms of how many people get scholarships, as I mentioned before, 20% of our students, they get scholarships. We do encourage students to apply in terms of putting in their overall application as early as possible. So because we have a scholarship pot, So the earlier you apply, the chance of, because there's only certain amount in the scholarship pot. So I guess the earlier you apply, the chance for getting more scholarship is slightly, higher. And then I think we, in terms of that question regarding specific scholarship for students from specific areas, I'm afraid that's a no. But it's also because we want to give our students equal opportunities in terms of being able to apply for scholarships. So yes.
Great. So I've covered all the questions from the YouTube chat box. Thank you for answering all the questions. Do you want to share any final words with us?
So I guess, as I said, if you wish to apply, obviously definitely use the free eligibility check. And if you go on our website, you can book for a one-on-one if you have other questions after today's session. And we're always here happy to answer any questions that you might have. Or if you have any other questions related to admission, feel free to drop an email to our MBA admission inbox, which is displayed on this slide. And hopefully we'll get quite a few applications, and I'd happy to hear from all of you. So that's everything I have. And thank you so much for inviting me to this webinar today.
Thank you so much for everyone for your valuable time. All the audience, if you have any further questions, please feel free to contact SI UK India SI Study in India office. For more updates, do follow us on our social media handles. Bye bye. Take care.
Great. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Hi. Okay. Well, we're ending here.